I met Tom through Linda Gregson, who represents him as an art dealer. And Tom was formerly an engineer and is mostly self-taught. He lives in Melrose, and he does workshops at his home, but also we will be having a workshop of his here at the Meg Foundation. And a lot of his paintings are inland, cityscape, shorelines. He's very impressionistic. He does some of these model paintings in 22 minutes, and they're very reasonably priced here. And some of the larger paintings, the oils and the framed watercolors, are museum quality. He's won prizes all over, and we're looking forward to working with him through the Meg Center.
I'd like to introduce our DPW Director, Joe Adubato.
I'm glad to be here, and it looks like it's going to be a very well-attended event here, and hopefully we'll talk again before the day is out. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. I want to thank you all for joining us today. Meg Foundation's very happy to honor John Burns. We're going to have a little ceremony. Mr. Bizignani's going to sing for us. He has some Irish songs. First of all, before we begin the festivities, which will be short, I'd like to have the Meg Foundation people come up here. Ruth, where's Marilyn? Helen, Cam. Ruth, come on up here. This group of people, we've been working for 3 years, and we've never had so much fun and so much hard work and accomplished so much. So I want to introduce everyone. This is Cam Ciccolini, Catherine Hollett, Helen Holt, Ruth Swanson. Where's Marilyn? We have Mike Lavecchia, our resident architect, who's volunteered his services. He's a bartender today. Marilyn, come on over here, Marilyn. She's taking pictures. We just have a wonderful, wonderful group of people. We have Tony, our accountant. He volunteers. And Ed Carlson, who's a saint, who does everything Marilyn tells him to. We're going to have a few speeches honoring John Burns, very short. We have Mr. Heffernan, we have Tom Sheehan, there's one other, Judy Gaffney. Judy, would you like to come up first? Where are you? Right here. Great. And after the speeches, we're going to have a little sing-along.
When I grew up in Winthrop, I only knew Saugus from driving through it to get to York Beach, Maine. It was just that place up on that Newburyport Turnpike, and it was far, far away. When I started student teaching, I chose Saugus only because there was a person who lived behind me who drove to Linfield every morning, and I could get a ride. Little did I know that that would change my life. After spending the next 37 years in Saugus, thanks to John Burns, he and I retired at the same time. One of the best things John did was to foster young people who loved language. Just think of the names: Paul Downing, Billy Regan. At the junior high, Annette Morehouse, Sarah Cahill Murphy. The reading teachers throughout the elementary school and the high school and the junior high, all of whom loved the English language. The other thing that we benefited from, of course, was John's mentoring of us. We could never have been the teachers we were if it hadn't been for him. And the best thing about working for him was you then became his friend. Sorrowfully, we lost him, although he was over 90 and refused to admit it most of the time, much too soon. We all felt he should have gone on another good 10 years. However, his memory will not be lost through the students that he had, the people he trained, and his love of Saugus and the books that he and Tom Sheehan co-authored. All I can say is my life was blessed by knowing John Burns and by working in the Saugus school system. And I thank the town and now the Malia Graves organization very much. Thank you.
While we have a minute here, we'd like to recognize Ellen Burns and John's son, David. Thank you for joining us today. We also have Town Manager Andrew Bisignani. We have our DPW Director, Joseph Adebato, and his wife. And we have some new selectmen right here. We have, what's your name again?
Mike Sereno.
And we have another selectman, I believe, Scott Crabtree. Thank you for joining us. And we also have our State Representative Mark Balzone, who will lead us in Irish songs. He's a piano player on the side, in the north end. Thank you. So could we have Mr. Sheehan up here?
When you get to this circuit in your life to find your heroes, you're pretty lucky. I got two. One of them is Bob Wentworth, of whom I will say no more, and the other one is John Burns, of whom I will say this, with glasses on. No. One more visit. It's an illusion from the first moment, John. That's not an empty chair in the southeast corner of your room, high on the hill above the pond you saved. That chair will never be without you at command, setting order in our world, developing tastes so keen they last a lifetime, granting time and poetry proper due, and keen spirit, excitement of wonder, the light at the end of a period, illumination anew in classrooms measured by climbing meter, sharing with each visitor more than devoted words, your ideas of the past, the fragile memories tumbling at the edge of touch, that you're back at it again, as if you've never left the prized audience of listeners, the room full of ghosts you have a habit of breathing alive. We here and all those we miss at this labor's joy. It's all we ask for, John, from this side, from back here, as close to the pond without a soaking, the hill at one end of your journey, into all the places you have been. The lost cafes, a dozen libraries frozen in your mind, students' sudden voyage into the light of a poem you were thrust on course without their knowledge about the strings you had pulled in their consciousness, a student's rapture in a new sense of word, a verse appearing as though you pulled it from sanctuary, a shipmate's voice 60 years in its demand of reply as kamikaze screamed the deck of the USS Carlson, now being freed like baggage from a streamliner oncoming from the other coast, the last book crumpled before the final word read, just one more visit, John. Work was never done for you, so much left to do, punctuation, penalties and purges, revisions alert to what was intended in the first place, a completed arc of one inscrutable thought, blaze of jagged lightning, straightening arcs, where poets left their meanings for those of us suddenly upright in our own chairs, the bright light flaring for that moment, it's forever. Now you work on the side of grass from a new place of words, saved and parlayed for this encounter. Oh, trying to let us know it's okay to have decent echoes, favorite words, a schadenfreude. The world is too much with us late and soon. Oh, echoes, the echoes telling us everything you knew about everything. love, duty, adverbs and adjectives at lowly work, and then, years later, in darkness, a whisper from a far corner, a line from a poem you tossed at our feet as if it came from a place in your heart reserved for all we listeners. It was always from your chair you sent a smile coming around the corner, newspapers across your lap the way Afghans keep a lesser teacher not quite as warm, or a book for today or two flat opened on the spine, more a reminder than a finish, for as we all know, one book sat ready as a trigger while one staggered to final rest after you had read through grounds of its mansions like a plow on the back acre of writer's intent. You showed us ways where we ought to go, what grips to carry for memory's sake, know what you read and remember. You knew everything, but let us find our own way in on it, how a map is plotted for timely destination. Now you're out there and we are here remembering the joy of it all. One more visit for today, John. You're good for that. Hundreds of us know it and more. We hear your listeners, alert at memory, the pieces pulling us wide awake, knowing we all agree on your largeness. Thank you.
It was beautiful, John. John Burns was a member of the Center for the Arts in Saugus about 10 years ago, and then he was a member of the Meg Foundation from its beginning. He always supported us. He always encouraged us, no matter how bad it got on some days. He was just a marvelous, marvelous person, a friend, a wonderful teacher, a wonderful father and husband. We forgot to introduce Dr. Robert Munley. He's a former superintendent of schools. He's here today. Thank you. We also have Selectman Steve Horlick. Steve, where are you hiding? Yeah, I'm sorry. He's never hiding. He's always around. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And we have Mary Ann Taylor that's always hiding. She's on our committee also. She's hiding out in the front. We'd like to have Mr. Heffernan come forward and speak.
John was an excellent raconteur and an excellent listener. He visited the family home on Stone Street often after school to share his day with his elderly mother. He loved to tell how his mother would say to him on these occasions, "When I die, you don't have to come and put flowers on my grave. Each and every visit of yours is a bouquet of flowers." I've known 3 people in my life with a breadth of learning and reading that staggers. One was my mother, and 2 English teachers, Father Bill Lucy of the seminary, and John Burns were the others. When I relayed to John a story I know I had told him more than once, he listened and never told me I had already told the story. He knew I loved telling it. He seemed to enjoy hearing it again. One such story had a literary bent. It was a tale of a trip back from Long Island by car with my cousin and a girlfriend with whom she was trying to set me up. My cousin was playing matchmaker. We were attacking the New York Times Sunday crossword, and the Times was winning. For the 4-hour ride, we stumbled over a 6-letter answer with the clue, Blythe Spirit Author. Having just studied English Romantic poets, I insisted it had to be Shelley, but Shelley didn't fit. We arrived at Essex at Felton. My sainted mother was sitting at the reading at the kitchen table, as she was fond of doing. I said, "Okay, Ma, 6 letters, Blythe Spirit Author." My mother looked up, paused, and said, "Coward." And back to her book she went. I was very aggravated. John would then say, "Paul, that was a flower for your mother." John was the most amazing combination of toughness and kindness. He was the man who tossed a pesky, annoying neighbor into a distant booth at the Tumble Inn one day. He was also the one who would say, without a hint of machismo, they'd like to mix it up if it called for in a dispute with a male. One day he said in the Navy, a superior told him to shoot a fellow serviceman. John took out his gun, handed it to the superior and said, "You shoot him." Yet he had all the markings of the ultimate Irishman, who, while he could not bring himself to read the Irish sports page, attended wakes and funerals not because he reveled in the company of fellow mourners, but because he felt genuine compassion. When someone cast aspersions on my decorating graves of Heffernan grandparents who had died long before I was born, he would say, "I could not disagree more with those who forget their ancestors." Politically, John bled Democrat blue his entire life. When others who left the left reminded him of the old line, "Anyone who is not a liberal in his 20s has no heart. Anyone who's not a conservative in his 30s has no brains," he would go on the attack. "So you have both heart and brains?" When I goaded him by letting him know I had just sent a check to anyone who opposed Hillary Clinton, he would say, "Why don't you send it to the Little Sisters of the Poor instead?" I relayed to John the story of a son of a famous Saugus family who was dying of cancer, and the poor man had become seriously deranged during the period of decline. He would go up to people at a gathering and say, "Why am I dying and you are not?" John explained to me how this individual had lost a daughter years ago in an accident, had come seriously unglued, and had never fully recovered. In literature, John and I parted company on Bob Frost. John joined my friend, fellow classmate Margie Townsend, in branding Frost a fraud who wrote poetry for little old ladies in tennis shoes. I would reply they obviously had not delved beyond stopping by woods in a snowing evening to Death of a Hired Man and Home Burial. I kept reminding John that Jeff Hart at Dartmouth had labeled Frost, along with Pound, Eliot, and Yeats, as the most important poets in English of the 20th century. John said he remained in Margie's corner, but I thought he was just being puckish. These lines from Byron's Don Juan seem apt offering in a collection of salutes to my old English teacher, who spent his professional life leading his students to an appreciation of the written word. Words are things, and a small drop of ink falling like dew upon a thought produces that which makes thousands, perhaps millions, think. 'Tis strange, the shortest letter which man uses instead of speech may, from a lasting link of ages, to what straits old time reduces frail man, when paper, even a rag like this, survives himself, his tomb, and all that's his. And to these somber thoughts, I would also add, John loved Hausman. Malt does more than Milton can to justify the ways of God to men.
Thank you very much.
You know, I was sitting here listening to the people, and they made some great points about my father, and I'm proud of him very much. But I remember one of the most greatest stories he ever told me was a conversation he had with his mother about many years ago after he was in college, and some kids had kind of given him a hard time in BC, and roughed him up a little bit. And he said, and he went up to his mother, and his mother said, "The best advice I can give you is you're tough and you're Irish, and you don't have to take it." He was always giving strong bits of strength to me in that way, and I hope to carry them on through the rest of my life. And my mother's helping in my mother, and keeping my mother and I happy and healthy through the coming years. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mark, would you like to say a few words?
David, of course, reminds me of one of the many links I had with John, which was Boston College. And John and I used to always talk BC whenever we got together. But John was a very important person to all of us here in Saugus. I know I can tell you that he and Ellen were two of the key people that helped get me started along in my career, and I thank both of them for that so much, because they were so wonderful to me. But John and Ellen are people that were important to everybody here in Saugus. And if we could go around this room, and I know every single person here has a story of how John Burns has affected their lives, because he was that type of person who just made sure, in not always, sometimes in a loud way, sometimes not, but always made his presence known to everybody around him through words, but also, more importantly, through actions. And that's who John Burns was, and that's who Ellen Burns is. So, again, my heartfelt appreciation to the Meg Foundation for doing this. I think that this couldn't be more appropriate. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'd like to also thank Cable, Saugus TV, for filming this. It'll be on cable TV one day.
A lot of people don't realize I play a little piano, and I started taking lessons when I was 4, so we can thank my parents for that. So, what do you think? When Irish eyes are smiling? Yeah. That sound good? You promise you're going to help? Okay. There's a tear in your
Eye, and I'm wondering why.
Song and your eyes twinkle bright as could be. You should laugh all the while, but other times smile. Please smile for me when Irish eyes are smiling. A little Irish laughter, you can hear the angels sing. Alive, alive, oh, alive, alive, oh, sing cockles and mussels, alive, alive, oh. This fair city where all the girls are so pretty, I once met a girl named Sweet Molly Malone. And she wheeled her wheelbarrow through the streets broad and narrow, singing cockles and mussels, alive, alive, oh, alive, alive, oh, alive, alive, oh. Was a fishmonger, and sure was no wonder, so were her mother and father before, and they wheeled their wheelbarrow through streets broad and narrow, singing cockles and mussels, alive, alive, oh, alive, alive, oh, alive, alive, oh, singing cockles and mussels, alive, alive, oh. Died of a fever and no one could save her, and that was the end of Sweet Molly Malone. And now her ghost wheels her barrel through the streets, singing cockles and mussels. I don't know this song. Alive, alive, oh, alive, alive, oh, singing cockles and mussels, alive, alive, oh. Let me tell you the story of a man named Charlie on this tragic and fateful day. He put 10 cents in his pocket, kissed his wife and family, went to ride on the MTA. Did he ever return? No, he never returned, and his fate is still unlearned. He may ride forever neath the streets of Boston. He's the man who never returned. Charlie handed in his dime at the Kendall Square station, and he changed for Jamaica plane. When he got there, the conductor told him one more nickel. Charlie could not get off that train. Good, he never returned, no, he never returned, and his fate is still unlearned. He may ride forever neath the streets of Boston. He's the man who never returned. Now all night long Charlie rides through the tunnel saying, what will become of me? How can I afford to see my sister in Chelsea or my cousin in Roxbury? Did he ever return? No, he never returned, and his fate is still unlearned. He may ride forever neath the streets of Boston. He's the man who never returned. Charles' wife goes down to the Scully Square station every day at 2:15. And through the open window, she and Charlie a sandwich as the train comes rumbling through. Did he ever return? No, he never returned, and his fate is still unlearned. He may ride forever neath the streets of Boston. He's the man who never returned. Now, did you ever wonder why she never puts a nickel in the sandwich of his cheese and ham? Well, the woman has a secret. She wants Charlie on that subway because the woman has another man. Woo, woo! Did she ever return? No, he never returned, and his fate is still unlearned. He may ride forever neath the streets of Boston. He's the man who never returned. Now, you citizens of Boston, don't you pay and think it's handle that the people have to pay and pay? Vote for George O'Brien, fight the fare increase, get poor Charlie off the MTA. Did he ever return? No, he never returned, and his fate is still unlearned. He may ride forever neath the streets of Boston. He's a man who never returned. One more. Did he ever return? No, he never returned, and his fate is still unlearned. He may ride forever neath the streets of Boston. He's the man who never returned.
Thank you. Mark, you have a career elsewhere.